Yeah, welcome everybody to our first lecture, and today we would like to talk about sustainability and ethical management as a new key competence. That's basically today's topic, but we put a question mark because we first need to look at it and see, is it really a new capacity or skill that we have to develop? So let's go through a couple of topics here actually, and we see, well, why is sustainability become an economic and an ideological imperative? That's basically the first point we would like to look at. And well, we see the plastic problem we see in the world, for example. It's one of the big issues we face today. That's one of the reasons why, from an ideological point of view, it is important. Second, and maybe also number one, is climate change. This could be actually done in a different order. It doesn't matter so much. Climate change and the emission of CO2 gases is a real problem, and we see that this is also another ideological question, why it becomes important for us to be sustainable and ethical. We see also the stealing, so to say, of resources. We have the overuse of natural resources. It's a big problem associated maybe with mining and other activities. Construction is a sector facing a lot of problem in that respect. Well, we have another problem we see here in this picture, and this is desertification. So a lot of soil gets overused by heavy use of fertilizers, pesticide and alike, and this is a real problem when we look at our food production, and this makes a long-term problem because if the soil gets degraded, then also the food will have less vitamins, and this is also a problem because then the food is less healthy. We have the problem of the loss of biodiversity. And we will also look at many international agendas, and recuperating biodiversity is a global issue as well. And last but not least, we can continue a long list of reasons why it's ideologically important, but we want to also focus on why it is now economically important to become sustainable. It's not just only an ethical question anymore, but more economic necessity. So we have the next problem of poverty and high inequalities. In this picture, for example, we see children living on a dumpster place, and this is a big problem. Another point of view that we could apply here is looking at the carbon footprint. Looking at that, we measure also the global overshoot day. This is a measure, so to say, to look at what day of the year have we all used up our resources that would have been regrown sustainably in 1 year. So basically we're living on debt after that year in terms of resource use. So we want to have obviously that date as late as possible, and we see that we already in the first half of the year, all industrial countries already reached their overshoot, which means they're using up more resources than they could have been reproducing naturally on their own in 1 year. So they're basically creating debt. So this is another reason why it's really important to become more sustainable from an economic point of view. The next topic, which is basically everywhere also when we talk about global agenda, are the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. Those are 17 goals basically concerning sustainability, from number one, end of poverty, to others like climate change action or life on the earth, life on water, creating partnerships. There are different areas, and within each area we have certain indicators that can help us manage and steer that activity towards that goal. So it's quite a complex operation actually, but we see the development goals, they're really nice as an overview. so we can also really see what is sustainability and sustainable development all about, and this helps us also first understand what do we have to do maybe to be sustainable and ethical. So in this course we talk about corporate social responsibility, and we see here a definition from the European Commission. I'm not going to read through the whole text, but basically the bottom line of the whole definition is that we measure our impact on the social, economic and environmental level, and we work with different stakeholders, groups that we come in contact with, like suppliers, employees, society, shareholders, and we work around a certain set of values, and it should be integrated in a core strategy. So this is why here in this course the main objective at the end is that we all should be able to develop our own strategy or help someone else develop their strategy of corporate social responsibility and ethical management. Also on the investment market, economic social governance or environmental social governance has become more and more popular, and even certain tax audits, they come to the companies and ask them, hey, what do you do already on sustainability? So it is good to already invest in, let's say, qualifying and training your staff in that topic to already show that you're doing something about it, especially in the financial markets. And moreover, we see many initiatives that want to steer the financial markets to reach the higher goal of sustainability. We also see that the economic performance is positively influenced by operating under an ethical conduct or implementing a corporate social responsibility strategy. Long time it has been seen as a contradiction actually, or a trade-off. If you want to be sustainable, it's costly, so many people don't want to be sustainable because it would create too many costs. So this trade-off nowadays is shaking. We see many studies now in science showing that companies that are sustainable are actually performing better. And now we're going to see a couple of more reasons why that might be so. First, we see that the public or the target groups, the customers and clients, have changed. We see Generation Z, Generation Y, also called the millennials or the digital natives. They have different values, they are very individual, they look at corporate social responsibility, and they're highly connected and digital and global. And you need to be authentic. So if you are just greenwashing, forget about it. They will detect it and boycott certain companies that just to pretend being sustainable. But in the end, they still keep doing the same bad things like before. We see that investors are caring more about ESG, like I mentioned before, environmental social governance, which is in the end a different term for corporate social responsibility. We see that the public, politics, regulations require now acting more responsible and also account for your impact. So this is where we come into the area of measuring your impact, accounting for it and controlling for it. And last but not least, we talked about performance. So from the performance perspective of a company and reputation and cash flow and branding, many reasons why you want to be responsible in a social and environmental way. So in the end, the question is, does it really boil down to maybe a question of capacity development? Do we need to develop a new skill of being ethical and sustainable? And I say yes. We need to develop this skill in order to be able to manage in an environment which is ambiguous and uncertain. Some people call it the VUCA world. We will explain that in more detail. So we have a lot of variety, velocity, uncertainty. So many things are changing around us, and we need to develop the right skills, like for example managing our carbon footprint or being able to manage our environmental and social impact. So this is now basically a call for a new paradigm of how to manage your company. Yeah, you need to be ethical and you need to be sustainable to reach new target groups, to reach to a new situation. And in the end, it boils down to you being able to manage the change, and you need tools like, for example, a balance sheet or some reporting framework that helps you break down what you need to focus on, which indicators, which key performance indicators on sustainability you need to choose in order to be coherent with your strategy, and then you can measure and manage what you need to do. So this is basically the first message that I would like you to grasp, that corporate social responsibility means being socially, environmentally and economically sustainable, and you need to have it integrated in a strategy, work with different stakeholders along a certain set of values, and you need different tools to manage it in order to be successful. So I hope you enjoyed the first class. See you next time.